It is also posted at BurlingtonIslandNJ.com. We ask that members of the public hold questions and comments until the public portion unless recognized by the chair.
Could everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Carlon?
Here.
Russo?
Here.
James?
Here.
DePrava present. Reinhardt?
Here.
Sunstein?
Here.
Worth? Here. And the treasurer is here as well.
Motion set adjournment time, please.
Move we adjourn at 9.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn at 9 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 9 o'clock it is. Secretary's report. Has everyone had a chance to read the secretary's report?
Move to approve.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the secretary's report. On the question.
On the question, looking at the minutes, there was a slight discrepancy of $600 versus the imbalance of $600 from Wood Street Fair. Secretary's report says 600. The Treasury report says five something. I know there was.
Well, that's because at last meeting we didn't have an exact total, and what was given was estimated around
okay.
600.
Okay.
I'm assuming that we're gonna read into the record the exact total tonight, so I can put that in there.
I believe the exact total is in the treasurer's report.
Well, we can do that when we get to that. It's 513.29.
Any other questions on the secretary's report? We'll have that corrected.
Well, it can't be correct. We didn't
Oh,
have
it's
that.
just an
It was
approximation.
an estimate, right?
Yeah,
So
it was
we
just
don't
an
have to correct
estimate
it.
that was given
Okay.
during the meeting. So
Just
that's why
include it
we put
next
in the
month,
record.
the exact figure in next month's meeting. Minutes, I'm sorry, tonight's minutes. Any other questions on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer's report. Our treasurer is going to go month by month and give us a breakdown. We'll start with June, complete June, accept June, then move on to July. So first is June. Mary Ann.
No, sorry.
I'm sorry, Darlene.
The money market had 9 cents interest. The total was $21.8173. The checking account deposit was $750 plus $50 from the day lots. $650 in scholarships, and the ending balance was $273.41. Scholarship savings. Anything there?
Well, no.
Okay, just $750 was taken out of the scholarship savings account and put in the checking account for write checks for the scholarship. The ending balance was $21.55. The Woolman savings was $37.89, and there was no activity.
Okay, that's June. Motion to approve. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the June 2013 treasurer's report. On the question. I have a question. For the checking account, there's a deposit of $800. That was all scholarship money? Deposits, credits, deposits $800.
It was,
Yeah, computer.
yes.
So that was scholarship money that was donated by board members?
Yes.
Okay. And then my only other question is, I see a $50 scholarship and a $600 scholarship. But it says expenses $750 for scholarships. There was, I assume.
There was another one that wasn't cashed till later.
You didn't catch it
We didn't
till the
cash
next
it till
month.
the next month.
Oh, so I'll see it in the next report?
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that takes care of June. July 2013.
The beginning balance was 2181.73, interest 8 cents. Deposit $10.59.
Is that right on the thing? On the statement? Money market.
Yeah, it's right here. $29. The $10 was, it says ACH, and then there's 130717D2, Square Ink. The 30 cents is the same thing, and the 29 cents is the same thing.
Looks like some sort of an automatic deposit.
Yes, when the board, when I got the Square Ink, okay,
That's where it came from.
that's where it came from.
Okay.
Okay.
When we set up the account, it automatically deposited into the system.
So that's a square in, right?
Yes.
So what happened was the withdrawals came out of the money market, went into the scholarship fund inadvertently. So that's where the 1391 is, the 81 is the ending balance. With the expense.
She accidentally took $800 out of the money market and put it into the checking account.
Okay.
Now, the 59 cents was a penalty that the bank imposed. So you see a total of $800.59.
Right.
But of course, we couldn't just put it back in there. We need to talk about that tonight.
Okay. And that's where the deposit comes in on the checking
Yeah, on the
Right.
checking, plus a $30 check. I think it was from Munich.
from,
Yeah.
It might have been from you.
Then that was probably the money for the newspaper ad.
Right, that's what exactly
That's
what
what
it
it
was.
was. So now you're down in the checking.
So the beginning balance for the checking account is $273.41. Debits and credits was deposit $830. Total is $1,103.41. And the other scholarship check was $150, which brings it to $273.41. The ending balance is $953.41. Scholarship savings, the beginning balance is $21.55 and the ending balance is $21.55. The Woman savings is $37.89.
motion to accept the July 2013 treasurer's report. Motion's been made and seconded to accept the treasurer's report for July 2013. On the question, any manager have a question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? On to August 2013.
The money market beginning balance is $1,391.81 with 6 cents interest. The ending balance is $1,391.87. Checking account balance is $953.41 and no activity. The ending balance is $953.41. Scholarship savings is $21.55 and no activity, and the ending is $21.55. The Woolman savings is $37.89 with no activity, and the ending balance is $37.89.
Move to approve.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the treasurer's report for August 2013. On the question. Questions? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, last one, September 2013.
The beginning balance is $1,391.87, 6 cents interest, and $100 postcard deposit.
Okay, good story.
Ending balance is $1,491.93. The checking account is $953.41 with no activity, and the ending balance is $953.41. Scholarship savings is $21.55. Interest of a penny. Deposit $513.29, which is from the Wood Street Fair. The balance is $534.85. The Woolman savings is $37.89, no activity, and the ending balance is $37.89.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve September 2013. On the question. All right, the only comment I have is we do now have almost 535 hours towards next year's scholarships. And the bulk of that money was made at the Wood Street Fair. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That handles the treasurer's reports.
Real fast, can I just make one comment?
Yes.
There's actually another $41 that was given to the board from the Baylots.
Okay.
They did a raffle at one of their auctions, the board, so that's $41 to be placed into the scholarship fund.
Once again, thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Glad to help, thank you. You're welcome.
We will pass this over to the treasurer to be deposited into the scholarship fund. So, there's note of that.
41.
So that will turn our scholarship fund to the tune of $575.85 once that's deposited. So there's nearly one scholarship set for next year. Next on the agenda.
I have a check here for the Board of Other Managers to be put into their account.
The scholarship account or the operating account?
I would say the operating account, I think that might need it. But it's not addressed either way,
Let me just write this down.
so
and
that
then
way you could use it for whatever you wish, whatever it needs fit.
Don, you want to explain, because I don't think they understand. I mean, I don't know how much you want to tell them, but
It's the $100 that I acquired, my ex-wife wanted to get married, but she couldn't find her divorce papers, so she contacted me and says, Don, if you send me copies of the original divorce papers. Let's see, I'll donate $100 to the Board of Island Managers, is that okay? So I said, sure, just, when I get the check, I'll send you the paperwork.
We'll get more?
Now, she's only
What
gonna
else
get
can you
married.
give her,
No,
Don?
I'm just teasing.
She's only gonna get married twice, I was.
So what's your pleasure, Don? You want this to go into the operating expense account?
Whichever way it's needed. I'll leave that up to the board president.
Yeah, into the operating expense. Correspondence. Does any manager have any correspondence? I did receive one thing from the post office box. I did not make it back. It was a cord for a registered piece of mail, and it said Chubb on it, so I'm assuming that is from the insurance company because we've never paid Haynes and Haynes. That's $600.
I'm gonna assume that's true.
Because it's probably the Chubb agency that holds it. I think we were supposed to pay that bill and we approved paying it, it just hasn't been paid.
They haven't bothered me since the last time I.
No, well, probably now that the provider, I mean, I didn't get the chance to get back there to pick it up. I will try to get by there tomorrow and pick that up. If indeed it's from the insurance agency, we did make a motion to pay that, so Mary, I did give you that bill. You said you were gonna check with Haynes and Haynes on it, to make sure we didn't pay it.
They said it wasn't paid, and that's when I brought it back to you.
Okay, we're gonna need to pay that. I'll get the information. Mary, I'll get a hold of you so you can reach out to Darlene. Do we both need to sign the check?
Yeah, it needs two signatures.
And there's also the one for the advertising that needs to be
Yeah, did
paid.
that ever get paid, the $29.20 from the advertising that Tony gave $30 for?
The Courier Post?
Yes. That was paid, okay.
When was that paid, do you recall?
They usually keep sending bills and they didn't this month, so it must have got paid. She can.
Well, I'm just curious because I didn't see it on any of the reports, that's why.
Well, it might be with the October report.
Well, that's why I was asking if she remembers when it was paid.
I'll have to look in the book.
Okay. I was just curious. So there was no actual correspondence?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Nick, of course, I gave, just to let the DIF group know that I did get the paperwork from Warren Tucker a couple days ago, and he asked me if I could pass it out. He gave me 4 copies, and I gave 2 of them to the board president, the vice president, so they now have them in their hands.
Did we find out when that was done? The newspaper?
We didn't,
No,
no, I know that
Darlene
it was paid.
thought she had it with her, but she,
Has to have been paid a month ago, I suspect.
will probably be the next statement.
Because they got me whenever they're calling it.
Any other correspondence?
Oh, actually, Maria, didn't I drop it off at the end?
What?
That check with the envelope and the, I gave it to the,
I'll double check, I don't know.
You probably mailed it.
yeah, I had a stamp and,
If it had a
no, I
stamp,
just
it
needed
went.
your signature on it.
If it had a stamp, it went.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yes,
he
yes,
you're right.
signed it.
I signed it.
Yeah.
All right. Any other correspondence? Seeing none. I'm now going to open the public portion. This will be the only time that the public will speak tonight. So if you have something to say, step up to the mic, your name, address, and the floor is yours. Any member of the public?
Okay, good evening, board. My name is Warren Tucker, Willenboro, Willowville Township, New Jersey. Coming to once again introduce ourselves and the project that we're representing. I didn't know if you had an opportunity to read what we had proposed. So that's why we were trying to make communication with Don to make sure that everybody had adequate time to review what we had proposed to the board as far as our agenda for getting our project moving forward.
You're talking about what Don just gave us.
Right. Because I only have one copy myself here, and even though there was no revisions in that draft, because that was a draft version, there might have been a few grammatical errors in there, but for the most part, the refined version, there wasn't much difference in that. So generally, what we have proposed is what's there on the paper. We're looking to do certain things, and we're looking to work with with the island project and specific groups and the agendas that they already have set in motion, and we're just work with them and to be able to make everything work.
Have you approached the city yet?
Well, what we had to do, there's specific format for what we had to do, and we haven't approached the city regarding this. When we did make proposals to other communities, cities, and so forth, there was like a disconnect of communication. So when we came here to Burlington City, remember we were telling you during the last meeting that this was an archive document. This is something that was actually done several years ago, but it just sat in the dormant file and was never introduced to the city or to the Board Island managers. Okay, so we just pulled that out of the archives. That's when we came during the last session to basically introduce ourselves and put this project on the map, and start to work forward, because I don't know if you got our email that we sent to you. We were past due at that time. Okay, we did work with the group, because we're working with investment groups, to get an extension. Okay, which gave us 30 days roughly as an extension from the time from last month to now. Okay, so what they're looking at is they want some kind of communication as far as us being able to bring this project to the table and make it work. Okay, so that's why we were trying to get something drafted up as a document in writing as far as our format for what we're proposing. Okay, so that's why we didn't have time to actually bring something forward to the city just as well, because even though it's the same plan and same format as far as the overall goals, it would also have to be addressed to the Board of Education as well. Okay, so you got the city.
I don't know that it would have to be addressed to the Board of Education. We sent some of this information off to our attorney. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here this evening.
Okay.
But this is a pretty broad-based proposal.
Right.
There would have to be some meetings take place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With our attorney present, and I mean, you do need to approach the city, because we're in control of our portion of the island. We don't even know if that bridge would be going to our portion or the city's portion, and it's got to come from city property.
Right, and
So we can't just give you the okay to do something. I mean, this is going to have to be a dual between the board and the city and yourself. It would have to be three-part.
Right, and that's why I say it was just it's a general proposal, and then we needed to find out, because we communicated with Taylor, Weissman and Taylor as far as the bridge.
Yeah, I seen that email you copied me on.
Yeah, just to kind of see if they had anything or anybody knew of any information in the archives. I don't think they were too successful in pulling out any work order for bridge construction. So I mean, we did work out some resolutions for that past due time frame. So we did work out a strategy so that we can basically save this whole plan so that it doesn't just go into foreclosure. Because like I said, I'm past due. We have to have some kind of answer, and we already worked out that resolution so that we're not losing this. Okay.
Don.
Are you looking for basically just a letter of interest?
Well, I mean, we did, it would be helpful for us to be able to have a letterhead or something that we could communicate 'Cause see, I explained to a number of different groups that we have to have specific information. We have to have a location. We have to have a viable and valid plan that's going to generate revenues, and that's what we have. Even though it's general, we just wanted to keep it simple, short and sweet, because yes, you do have to break down the numbers for all of this. I mean, you know, you have to break it all
I think
down.
what the board, you know, I'll only speak for myself, but what, you know, as a businessman, we would be concerned of not getting anything that's gonna create a liability for us in the long run.
Right.
If we go too quickly into something.
Right,
I
absolutely.
think that's what it is. I think that's why we would be hesitant on it. But as a letter of interest or something like that, I think any proposal, as long as it's realistic, should be of some interest. That would just be my thought.
Right, and that's all, you know, even in this initial stage, I mean, that's satisfactory, because then from there, see, explain what we had to do was, like, for example, in our position, we have to have a location, a valid plan, and for us, we have to have a country that the investment group is working in. And we already have that covered because we have some people that are very interested in the Guideway Systems project and so forth. So we already have countries on the table. We already have that done. So if we have the letter of interest, as far as our past due, and keeping everything on the table, we're safe. You know, we're fine. We're good to go.
Do you actually have an attorney that our attorney could contact?
Absolutely.
Talk to him?
Yes.
Do you have a card for him?
I don't. I can get that information to you.
You get that information to me because he had some questions. He's not here tonight.
Okay.
But I know that he did say this is broad-based.
Right.
And there were some questions he had as far as, once the bridge is built, what are the plans from there?
Right.
We're
Okay.
just building a bridge from the mainland to the island. Is there gonna be more than that, or is that it? Or what's the board's interest? You know, what are your interests? He had some questions.
Sure. Okay.
And unfortunately, he was unable to be here this evening. But this is very broad. I mean, for us to make a motion and take a vote on something, naturally, we would have to have our attorney look it over, but we need much more information than this.
Okay. Yeah. That's fine. Yes.
That's for sure.
Yeah. That's good.
You do have my email, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mary?
I'm concerned that we're putting the cart before the horse here, because our hands are completely tied until you get some sort of an agreement with the city. We can do nothing. You can get all of the letters of encouragement, the letters of support and everything you can from us, but nothing can be done without the cities being in on this. After all, that bridge is going to connect to city property. So, you know, just from what I know of this, from what I saw that you gave out the last time, and from what you're saying now, I'm just thinking that this part of it should be going to the city before it can come to us.
Yeah, that's fine, because, and that's why, again, we wanted to include Taylor, you know, basically go with Taylor, Weissman, and Taylor, because we communicated with them, and they had let us know that there was several projects that were actually done for the island. I guess, I don't know whether that was done through, I guess that had to be done through the city, but they had done work for the city. And so to ease the complication from a different company coming in and trying to do something, it was basically work with Taylor, Weissman, and Taylor, because the city was familiar with them. They already had the plans or whatever. So I don't know who actually retained the archives for the bridge documentation in the past, because I believe that was done in the 80s. From what I was told, they did some work orders either in the 80s or the 90s. Okay.
I think most of that was to fight a proposed plant for Pennsylvania. They were gonna put something in Pennsylvania that would have interfered with the island. I don't think they ever really had a solid plan. The only plan I knew of for a bridge, and that was ending as I was beginning my term as an island manager 12 years ago, was Sam Katz. Sam Katz actually applied for permits and had some stuff, and part of what he was supposed to do that he didn't do was any approvals or anything that he had obtained from the state, he was supposed to supply the board with a copy. and his deal fell apart, and he never supplied the board with anything.
Okay.
But that was the only plan that I ever knew of that was concrete for a bridge to go from the mainland to the island. And he did, I understand, apply for some types of permits, or so he said he did, and he had some approvals, but he never shared them with the board. Don?
I personally saw the plans for the bridge. The concrete bridge with a tramway built on top of it. Went from the McNeil Mansion property, just like we discussed a long time ago, and it went on to the island. It was done by Taylor, Weissman and Taylor, and even what came with that bridge plan was also flow charts and everything for water, sediment, and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff was approved. I, unfortunately, had it in my hand, and I gave it to David Babola, and I haven't seen it since,
Approved by who, Don? The state or the city?
by the state.
DEP, Army Corps, that whole,
Yes. Flow
that would
charts,
be interesting to
water
see.
flow and everything had already been looked at, and they said that there was no problem with the flow and everything. And at that time, there wasn't any problem with the height. I suspect today, if the bridge was to go across there, there will be a problem with the height because of the Homeland Security move. So either the bridge has to be arched or something like that, but
Right.
the original plan actually did show that it tied onto Jones Street and went onto the island. I don't know if it had anything to do with Sam Katz. It didn't say it on the paperwork.
Yeah, I think that was before Sam Katz.
But I did see it, and I'm going to say it was something in the mid-'80s.
Yeah, that was before Sam. Mary?
Yeah, I mean, I think all this is well and good, but my belief is, or my feeling is that the attorney has to understand with your people what is going on here. As you said, it's broad-based, and everything I've read that was given here goes back to 2008 or something like that. I mean, the bridge is great, and the proposal's fabulous. It's more than fabulous, but I don't know a letter of interest means much. And that would have to come from our attorney. We do have the city, as you are well aware. And so far, I mean, I appreciate the situation, but I don't see anything here that really nails it down.
In what regard? I mean, are you?
You talk about monies, you talk about dispensing monies, you talk about where it's all going to go, but I don't see anything that's been proposed other than this piece of paper.
Right, okay, and that's why we were explaining, because like I said, we explained the process, and see, we already have that worked out.
Well, I understand.
We have as far as the strategy for keeping this alive. We already have it worked out. I mean, before we needed a location and certain documentation that has to be of a certain format of how to put this package together so an investment group can see it, so that we can introduce the money, put the money on the table, because we know it's there.
So let me ask you this, down to the core of it. Do you need us for you to go forward with your projects?
No, we got that covered.
You want to explain?
Well, like I said, we have our issue was having a specific location in order to get the project moving forward.
And where's that location?
This is what we worked out. We have a alternative, okay, to this location, which will help us expedite getting everything moving forward. So that way, just like the president, Nick Caruso said, there's got to be other meetings. So we're not losing this opportunity. Okay, we're not being foreclosed on, because like I said, we're past due by 30 days. Okay, and like you expressed, it would be difficult to make a decision and everything on a short period of time and so forth, because this is an archive. It comes from 2009 to 2011 time frame. Okay, and what happened with us is we had to have a country brought on the table for us to get our project, our guideway system marketed and so forth for us. And we had to have a letter of interest and invitation from a country. And I had explained to our team, made this statement to us about having a country in letter of intent, that we had to have, when we talked with key people that could do these things, there was a specific protocol, specific procedure that you had to follow for getting a country to be interested in your project and have that process followed through. I mean, the country's just not going to hand you a document that says, oh, we're interested in your project. There's a certain format that has to follow, and we have those people that can handle that process. So we got the countries covered. Okay, that would have been the most difficult process to get done, but we got it covered. So we had to have that. I mean, we actually got several countries. We even got a proposed project already on the table, so we got that covered. We got a viable plan, which, like we say, this is general. It just gives you a snapshot, quick and simple in 5 pages, but the numbers actually have to be broken down, and that's not a problem, but who wants to sit up there and look through 2,000 pages of numbers? Okay, and then you had to have a location. So we got all of those things covered. We're still interested in doing bridge and so forth with the island, and work with the development plans that were already proposed and put into place for the island. And so we already got everything covered as far as being able to keep everything alive. So if everybody's interested and likes the plan, we have the means to be able to move forward with this process, and you know, we already got that covered as far as getting it done.
May I ask, you stated a number of times you're in default, or you're not, but you were 30 days or something like that. I mean, who are you talking about?
As investors.
Yeah, we got a number of investment groups, because when our team came to us and said we need a letter of intent, at the time, you know, it was a country, okay, a particular country that the investment group was working in, because it was, let me see, July, August, September. We had 3 months to get that particular country a letter of interest from that country. And then at that time, we didn't know of anybody who could viably produce a letter of interest from a country, because when you're going to produce a letter of interest from a country, it's a specific document. It has the country seal embedded in it. They don't hand it out. It's highly regulated, okay? And then we were actually able to come up with some people that actually specialize in this, okay? They provide that documentation. They do those things. They provide the country-to-country marketing capabilities.
In your conversations with your lawyers and our lawyers, will those investors be spoken of?
Yes, they can, yes. Yes, because once you have a valid plan put together, and that's what we needed to do, was put together a valid plan that, like for example, if you wanted to submit a $100 million project, okay, where you wanted to see $100 million in capital, you have to have a $100 million project that is viable for them to invest in, okay? And, you know, once that's viable and, you know, they're ready to sign off on it, then, you know, that's when things can be disclosed.
See that, we'll take it over and read. Okay, is there anything else? You'll email me your attorney's
Yes.
name and address and phone number?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but I mean, as far as everything, I mean, like I said, we got it covered, and we just wanted to be able to move forward with with everything. So if we can locate that information, you know, for the bridge, and like I say, again, we have to work with the city and everything, and we can be able to move forward with all that.
Yeah, my suggestion would be that you approach the city as soon as possible.
Okay.
That's for sure, because they are unaware of it.
Oh,
We
okay.
spoke to some city officials and they are unaware,
Okay.
totally unaware.
Okay, good. All right, we'll make that move to,
Right.
work with them.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I look forward to hearing from you. Just email me and I'll get back to you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Karen?
Karen Robbins, Vincenttown, New Jersey. As you know, there is a blog concerning Burlington Island. We have been urged to participate, especially for purposes of defending ourselves, but we refuse because we'd rather spend our time working toward our goal, which is, as a New Jersey not-for-profit, to provide permanent solutions for distressed communities and the people who live in them. But it has been brought to my attention that a Board of Island manager posted the following, and I quote, "Woolman pretty much did the same exact thing as Entersport then, tied up the board for several years and never fulfilled the contract terms." And I know what you are thinking. They couldn't do to the mayor's edict. However, there were obligations that Woolman had to fulfill way back then when the edict was issued. Never did. Not to mention the endeavor cost the board a small fortune in legal fees, basically draining the board of all of its resources. For the record, please note the following. We never, and I repeat, never, entered into a contract with the Board of Island Managers. So the statement, quote, "and never fulfilled the contract terms," end of quote, is not true. There were no terms to fulfill because there was no contract. I want to clear up this misunderstanding. There was no contract. As a matter of fact, we were told many times by potential investors and grantors that they could not talk to us about funding without some type of written support from the Board of Island Managers. What is true is that, one, we were told on numerous occasions by the Board of Island Managers is that they would not give us even a conditional letter of support unless we could show that we had $250,000 in the bank dedicated to this project. And two, there was a resolution, which was basically the letter that we were asking for, conditions, but saying that they support our proposal. It was passed by the Board of Island Managers on August 12, 2010, but it was not given to us by the Board of Island Managers until 2012, 1 month prior to the deadline date as set forth in the written document for obtaining permits, licenses, and approvals. If we had this document in hand, we would have gotten the approvals we needed for funding. I also want to point out that this manager said, quote, "not to mention the endeavor costs the board a small fortune in legal fees, basically draining the board of all of its resources," end of quote. I suggest to the Board of Island Managers that you have an independent auditor take a look at your books to verify this public statement, and you'll find that we are not to blame. Please be very, very careful when you make statements that have no basis in fact. Thank you. I had to get that off my chest and clear things up.
Anyone else in the public?
Whoa.
Mike first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll let you go. I can wait. I'm good. Yeah, that thing
Charles
drives me
Johnson,
nuts.
51 West Fourth Street. How we doing with the water? With the bottler?
Nothing.
That's
Nothing.
not true.
I passed it on to Manager Sunstein, and he should be able to answer any question you have on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I've investigated it. I talked to probably a half a dozen bottlers. And the process is broken down. The bottlers want the water, but you got to supply the water. So you got to find the water, which is we have. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you get it out? And I've contacted. I have to go back into my. It's been sitting dormant for about a month. I spoke to people, and there's a guy up in Pennsylvania who sells the water, and I haven't been able to get a hold of him. But that's the process.
I got you.
In other words, the bottlers
Takes
don't.
time.
Yeah, the bottlers don't want anything to do with taking the water out. You got to give it to them.
So we have to find a way to get it out.
So that's where I'm at now. Is that we got to find a way to mine the water.
Right, we'll find another resource to help.
My thoughts on it is you gotta find somebody who you can partner up with, who's got the equipment, to get over there. We've got the wells, we don't know. I've been told there's 8 wells, and I've been told they've all been cemented shut, so you might have to drill more, I don't know. But I did investigate it, that's as far as we've got, or I've got in my investigation.
Okay,
It's hard to say whether they just capped them at the top or they went all the way.
gotcha, Nicky.
You know, we'd have to find that information out from the city. They may have just capped them up top,
Cool.
or they may have went,
Because the pipes are there, right? In the old water plant.
The information that I acquired on the wells, I have the entire history of the wells. And one of the reasons that the city actually stopped using the wells was because the 8-inch water supply pipe under the river wasn't big enough. That was basically the only reason. The city grew, in 100 years, big enough that actually it outgrew the pipe.
Sure.
That was the reason they put a new water plant in. And then at the time that they put another water plant in, they figured they could tap into the American water supply plumbing, which is, they own the whole water system in the state. But also they're going to draw it out of the river, they're just going to purify it and run it that way too. I found that one of the guys looked at the wells, and we cannot determine how far the concrete goes down in the pipe. We're thinking that it only went down to the 90-degree elbow. They didn't fill the pipe all the way up. If that's the case, it will be hard to get the concrete out with a boring bar, one of those with an impact and stuff, a hammer drill. What he recommended to do, since the history of the well says they're only down 75 feet, they never did tap into the main aquifer. If they went another 25 feet, they would have hit into all the water in the world. That would have supplied them easily.
That's the
But
word
the
you
problem
want.
was they didn't have the 8-inch pipe, was too small in the first place. So it wouldn't have made much difference at all. So they just said, well, we're not going to go any further with this. He recommended that if we ever seriously want to get involved in this, we should have a company drill another well right alongside us. Which one, wherever we find it the most convenient, because there's 7 of them right over there, just drill another hole alongside it.
Right.
That way you get a clean hole all the way down, take it down 100 feet, you're into the main aquifer, and now you got good clean water no matter what.
Nice.
And it has nothing to do with the pipes.
Gotcha.
But-
Yeah,
but
that's
what-
why it's pretty good.
But the thing that could be done, and what he said was interesting, was since all the pipes are still in place, and since we're only going to use it to bottle water, it's not like you're going to supply a village. What might be interesting is that if somebody acquired the old waterworks plant, since that's where the pipe goes to, now if you could draw water out of the wells, pump them out of the wells, you could run them right to the old waterworks plant and bottle it right there. You wouldn't have to worry about being on the island doing it. And I thought that's a great idea, but that's like pretty far-fetched.
yeah,
But it is a great idea.
It is.
Because then you don't have to do all your servicing on the island, which is difficult. You can do all your servicing right on mainland, which would be more economical for any company that might want to get involved.
Well, you only need to get the water piped over, you don't need a plant. You just need some access to fill a tanker.
Yes.
That's all you need.
Unless you want to have somebody on the island pumping a handle of filling up jugs.
Well, you'd have to put the
I
mechanism.
can't even get over there.
You have to put the mechanism over to the pump it, but that's not a big deal. It shouldn't be, that's not a big deal. And to if you can get to the pipe and just put a fill on it for a tanker, you're off and away.
Burlington prided itself because they prided itself in the sense that besides having all the wells, they also had 2 pumps that went right into the island, right into the lake. And their plans also were to draw water directly out of the lake. And the final one was to draw it right out of the river if they had to. But so it was on the line there, and they said, well, instead of going through all that, why don't we just build a new waterworks plant? Because it would be cheaper. But if you look at the map, I have the old maps of the island and everything. It actually shows the intakes. There's 2 pumping stations right on the lake. There's 2 on the lake, and there's 7 independent wells.
yeah, one of those was new and they never really even used it.
No, they never turned it on.
The one that's
One of
inside the fence.
Yeah, one was brand new, they never even turned it on. Yep, I think you're absolutely right.
It's all stainless steel too. It's not rusted or anything because it's,
Really?
yeah, it's
I see over there is that the two main pumps, because they took all the pump heads completely off of all the wells. And it's a shame too, at the same time they did that, they took a chainsaw and cut all the telephone poles down, except for one or two, and they're laying on the ground with transformers on them. And that's basically uncalled for. So now I have the map, which has the number of each one of the telephone poles. So if they would have argued and complained about it, unless they stole the tags off of them, or somebody did, we know which poles are laying on the ground, who they belong to now.
And they can't say that it's not our transformer because it's square. They kept saying to me, it's transformer square, it's not ours.
Right.
Well, I have a lot of photographic evidence through this area with square transformers, that's all their
I
fault.
think OEM took care of most of the transformer problems with
No.
the public service ones anyway. There's still transformers there?
Still laying there, yeah. I got one pole over here, it's got two transformers that are laying right on the ground.
Still hooked to the pole that's on the ground.
They just chainsaw the pole off. You know, nobody chopped it. You could see where they
Yeah, give me
chainsawed it
pictures
off.
of those.
It just fell on the ground and that's where they
Take
left it.
pictures of them and send them my email.
Yep. But,
How many is there? Two, do you know?
Well, I think there's a minimum of what? I don't know how many have transformers, but I know there's a minimum of 7 telephone poles at least. Maybe there's gonna be one more than 10 or 12.
Yeah, basic number I think started at 25, went from there.
Right.
You can get the number on it in the picture and then
Yeah.
send them to my email. Okay.
Thank you. Don, how can I get over there? Can I piggyback on your kayak?
I have 2 kayaks. You can borrow one if you want.
Okay, because my son and all his buddies want to come over and work for you, help you out. If we could get like a boat or something, even would the state police help us get over there?
Probably not.
Probably not. They would probably give you a hard time.
They try to scare everybody off.
Well, we're going over there to work. The island manager, right?
I'll drop you off in the dark on a weekend.
Thanks, man.
Because I'm headed out. Mike,
Mike Zaylot, 506 Locust Avenue, Burlington. I came here this evening basically to listen, but on my newspaper that I brought with me, I wrote down things that came up today that I feel are important. First, historically, in Schermerhorn's history of Burlington, the first bridge proposal for the island was in 1929. They were going to build a bridge from Burlington to the island and from the island to Bristol. And they decided to do the Burlington-Bristol Bridge down further. A concern came up today, if I'm listening, and I was listening to what was there, the last approximate Treasury report was $900. The insurance payment for Haynes and Haynes, I believe someone said was $600. That leaves the board with $300 in its funds.
now let me interrupt you.
Sure.
That figure's wrong.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There is $1491.93 in the money market, plus $953.41.
Okay, then I missed that. Okay, I apologize.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay, I mentioned this last meeting. I want to mention again, especially with numbers being the way they are. After every treasurer leaves, it's been the board's policy to have an audit. I know that the audit last time through Haynes and Haynes ran several $1,000s. I don't remember exactly. But I was talking with a person in Burlington, and they suggested to community service. There are a lot of accountants and stuff that would be able to do the island board in a relatively small time and probably pro bono. And that's just keep everything on the up and up. We've had 3 treasurers in 3 terms. So perhaps the board would consider that. The Coast Guard. The Coast Guard has had the same fee for the last 40 years. When I was on the board and prior to that, it was $100. I don't think that a letter from the board itself would affect the Coast Guard, but possibly if they're reelected, Singleton and Conaway might put a word in there. Everything has gone up for the $100. You can rent a day down the shore. I think maybe if somebody would approach our assembly people, they might be able to get that raised just at least a little bit. I'm also very interested, and I would like to see what's happening with the proposed bridge. Will the public be able to get a copy of the proposal at any time soon to look it over? I'm hoping that that will be one of the board's activities. And on the same line, I have a question or an idea. Before we put out before we accepted anybody's ideas or narrowed the field down to Woolman, we issued an RFP. And this is because of the public law for open competition or whatever it is. If the bridge is going to be done, is it appropriate to just have one person make a presentation, or should that be done with RFP? And again, this is a lot of money. I remember the one ad that we did in the New York Times was $4,000 for a one-day ad. A couple other things. The elections are coming up in November, and I mention that because you're talking to the mayor. There's a rumor, a very strong rumor, that the mayor is going to step down in December, and probably whoever is elected or re-elected president of council is going to be the person that you're going to be dealing with. And so you should keep that in mind. Maybe hold off for a month or two so you know who that you're going to be dealing with. There's no sense starting with one person, and it's possible that some of the council people may not be re-elected. So I would hope that you keep that in mind. I brought up a force majeure, which I was told many times by you, and I appreciate your opinion on that. That the force majeure is not important. It's not active. I bring it up because right now we're back to where the board was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. There's two entities controlling the board. The force majeure, and Ron has done great things for the board. I was on a board with Ron. Ron worked with me. I worked with Ron. But there's difference of opinion. If somebody's sick, if I'm sick and they tell me I have cancer, I want to look to two more guys to make sure that the guy didn't make a mistake. I'm not saying that Ron did make a mistake, but there was a firm with about 150 lawyers, as opposed to Mr. Ustavinich's 6 lawyers, that thought the force majeure was enforceable. I wanted to know if the board had made any contact at all with the city asking about the force majeure. It's in the contract. It's a standard operation for contracts of this type. And if the force majeure is in effect, it affects not only Woolman, it affects the board, which gives you time to renegotiate a longer lease. So, you know, sure.
Can I ask a quick question? Which contract are you referring to?
The contract, the five-year lease with the city, between the board.
But she just said she didn't have a contract.
No,
so-
not her contract, your contract. You have a 5-year lease with the board, which,
Is my question.
pardon?
How can we apply it to her if she didn't have a contract?
I'm not asking you to apply it. Whoops, I'm sorry.
I'm just asking.
No, I'm not,
I'm just
I'm not fighting what you're telling me. I'm not asking you to apply it to her. But by applying it to the city, you gain time to renegotiate for an extension of that. And I don't know if anything's been done in this. I'm not in the flow of the thing. I'm not a member of the board, obviously. But I wanted to know if the board made any contacts with the mayor or with or city council members to see how they looked at this. And the one law firm says, hey, it's legal. If they did this, if they stopped you, and the mayor was talking in 2011 to solar panel people and to Fidelis, and he was talking to other people in the middle of the contract he had with the board. If he was doing that, right after that, he put to stop it going on the island. He stopped you from completing the terms that would have gained, if I remember correctly, an extension. If there was something in place before the 5-year lease with the city was up, then the contract would have been extended. As the way that I remember the contract when we signed it with the city, with Senator Allen was down here, I believe, too. So I'm asking you that, I'm not looking for a fight here, I'm not looking for arguments, not criticizing anybody. I would hope that the board would take into consideration that if the force majeure is a viable option for the board, not talking about Woolman, that's a different object, that the city would have to grant you an additional 2 years, at which time the council may change, the mayor may change, and the Board of Island Managers might be able to get an extension on that $1 a year lease. And I thank you for...
Let me ask this, Mike.
Sure.
You've done some research, apparently. The 2 years will start from when?
It started from 2011 when the mayor started trying to sell off the property.
So we are now into 2013.
So you would have it till 2015.
So you're saying it would start now, but not back when all this took place?
Your period of time is from when...
Let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
The contract ended what? January of this year? 2013. So you're saying the force majeure, according to your research, would take into January of 2015?
Yes,
Okay, and to what purpose?
to gain an extension.
And we have, okay, now I have the extension.
Because what you
Now-
have, because right now you have two separate entities again.
I understand, but.
Yeah, somebody controls this, you control this. The city controls this, you control that. It's hard to make any sort of development on the island with half the island. It can be done, but it's much more difficult.
If this group comes in and should want to put a $50 million bridge in, I don't think the city's going to fight one little bit.
As far as the city lease goes, Ron basically wrote that lease. Ron knows that lease inside out. Ron offered his opinion to the attorney that said the force majeure should be in effect. Told him it wasn't, listed the reasons why. Have not heard a peep back from that attorney or that firm. Ron literally designed that 5-year lease with the city. There was one thing he had to give in on that he didn't want to give in on, and he turned as red as a Christmas bulb. And he finally gave in, and it was only changing a few words. Ron literally wrote that lease. He knows that lease inside out, and the board got their way with everything on that lease. Pushed by then council person Ed Canavan. Otherwise,
Okay, all I'm asking is for you to ask for another opinion. That's it,
I don't think we need it, unless somebody can prove him wrong, and that firm has not answered his letter.
You've had, I'm curious, if you've been in contact with the law firm, why don't you get a written opinion?
I printed it.
I haven't seen it.
It's there. You saw everything else, Murph.
There's no written opinion saying this lawyer said that force majeure is in effect, and why.
I'll show you what I have.
Okay.
Okay, I want to help you guys. This is to help you. This is not to make trouble for you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'm done. Thanks.
Any other member of the public? Any other member of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion.
Motion for 5 minutes?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded for a 5-minute break. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?